Happy Monday, everybody. It's the Kristian Harloff Show here on the Kristian Harloff channel. Where else would you find the Kristian Harloff Show but on the Kristian Harloff channel? I am John Rocha, also known as the Outlaw in years past, here hosting today. Kristian is not going to be on the show today because he is working on the studio. Him and Brett are working on a brand new studio. So be patient with me today as I host the show today, because you will see Kristian back on with a completely brand new studio here that's going to knock your socks off for sure. But let's not waste any time. Let's jump into it. We're going to talk so much about the box office, Superman story, Star Wars story, some X-Men casting stories, some Andy Muschietti stuff going on as well. You know how it is. It's a bunch of great topics. I'm going to hear from all of you all as well here on the Kristian Harloff Show. Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Happy Monday morning. Hope you enjoy the chill opening to the show. But this is John Rocha, and you know he brings the energy and the excitement. It is Monday morning. Hope you all are doing well. What a weekend full of stuff that we had. We had a WWE pay-per-view where you had our premium live event, I guess is what they're calling them now, where John Cena took on Randy Orton for the title. Cena, of course, walked away from it with the belts. A lot of controversy around the Becky Lynch stuff. So a lot of stuff happened this weekend as well in terms of the world of sports and the world of entertainment. So much happening. And we're going to talk about it all here on the Kristian Harloff Show. Really appreciate you all joining us here live. And yes, I am not Kristian Harloff, and some of you may be joining as we started the show here. Him and Brett are working on a brand new studio for the Kristian Harloff channel here that I think you all are going to really enjoy. And this was the only day he could work on it with Brett before he had to take off. So that's why I am hosting. So I ask you all to have a little bit of patience. Hang on, and let's have some fun here today over the next hour and a half to 2 hours of the Kristian Harloff Show. Open to you all to receive your comments, receive your thoughts and questions on all the things going on that we're covering here in on the show, all the topics that we're going to dive into as well. And hey, last week, Winston and Coy, they won the Super Chats battle, but I'd really love to start off this week really strong and powerful and get to 100 Super Chats by the end of this show. Would love for you all to help me get there here as I sit in and deputize on the show here for Kristian Harloff. So send in your questions, thoughts, and comments. We're going to get into a lot of stuff here on the show. I want to hear from all of you. You guys are an amazing audience. I love hearing from all of you, even the ones who don't agree with me. I love to hear from you. And so please send in your questions, thoughts, and comments through the Super Chats, and we'll get into all of it going on here in the world of entertainment. And Kristian Harloff might be checking out these Super Chats later. So if you've got some to send in specifically for Kristian, send them in anyway today, and Kristian will address them on the show tomorrow at some point. If not addressing them maybe through text with me, because he might be watching the show while he's working on the studio as well to make sure everything goes off perfectly. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's get into the first story here today, and let's dive into this situation going on at the box office here. Let's start off with the Variety headline here. Thunderbolts stays at number one, second week in a row with $33 million. A Minecraft movie crosses $400 million at the domestic box office. And we're reading Rebecca Rubin's breakdown of this on Variety. Marvel's Thunderbolts remain number one at the box office, collecting $33.1 million in its second week of release. Ticket sales declined by 55%. Look, for me, anything that doesn't have a 6 or a 7 in front of it for Marvel, it's a good retention. From what I read in other analysis and breakdown of Thunderbolts here in their second weekend, it was the 12th best of the Marvel movies, 12th best second weekend of the Marvel movies. And considering how many movies there have been out from Marvel in the last 17 years, 12th best is not bad. It's not great. It's not top 10, but 12th best is not bad. Ticket sales declined by 55% from its $74 million debut, making a far better hold than recent Marvel adventures that slid significantly in their second weekend, such as February's Captain America Brave New World, which is down 68% in its sophomore outing. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania was down 70%. The Marvels was down a whopping 78%. And Thor Love and Thunder was down 67%. So already a lot from the crop of recent Marvel offerings, MCU offerings here, it did better than all of them here that are listed. Thunderbolt started softer than all of those tentpoles, though, except for the Marvels, but solid reviews and positive word of mouth could help the movie stick around on the big screen. After opening weekend, Disney tried to stoke interest in Thunderbolts by unveiling the meaning behind the asterisk in the film's title. The ragtag group at the helm will henceforth be known as, quote, the new Avengers, unquote. The studio also revealed the motley crew of anti-heroes will make an appearance in 2026 Avengers Doomsday. Disney hopes that piece of casting news will inspire audiences to want to get to know the Thunderbolts before next year's epic superhero mashup. So far, Thunderbolts has generated $128.5 million in North America and $272 million globally since the film cost $180 million to produce and approximately $100 million to market. Jesus. Thunderbolts needs to outperform expectations to justify its hefty price. Now, right, what it's at, $272 million globally, 280 is what it was overall, seems to be the amount that that is the baseline here, 280. So we always know it's 2.5. Of course, it all works out. It all depends on the deals they've worked out with the theaters. So probably 4 to 5, probably 500 is where it needs to get to if it wants to start smelling a profit. Disney CEO Bob Iger, I've heard estimates as high as 600 million, but I don't think it'll get there. Disney CEO Bob Iger praised Thunderbolts earlier this week, calling the offbeat superhero adventure, quote, the first and best example of Marvel's new movie strategy. That's after the MCU had fielded the critical and commercial misfires of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, The Marvels, and Captain America: Brave New World. Iger said, we've learned over time that quantity does not necessarily beget quality. Well, Iger might be surprised that quantity also does not, low quantity does not necessarily beget quality either. And frankly, we've all admitted to ourselves that we lost a little focus by making too much. That's good news for theater owners because Disney has its third and final Marvel sequel of the year with the Fantastic Four First Steps on July 25th. Of course, the third because Captain America: Brave New World was the first one. Meanwhile, a Minecraft movie and Sinners cleared notable box office benchmarks, an indication of each film's remarkable big screen endurance. As Thunderbolts and those holdovers continue to dominate the box office, 3 new releases had to mostly settle for scraps. Yeah, the low-budget horror slasher Clown in a Cornfield managed to crack the top 5 with $3.8 million from 2,277 theaters. It's actually an impressive total for the film, which reportedly cost under $1 million to make. It's the biggest opening weekend to date for IFC, surpassing the Indie's prior record holder, of which was 2024's Late Night with the Devil, which of course starred David Dastmalchian, which powered at $2.8 million to start. As the title suggests, Clown in a Cornfield centers on a mass killer named Frendo, who deposits many of his victims in a quiet town's cornfield. Well, given the gruesome terror that unfolds on screen, it's not surprising that Clown in a Cornfield fielded a rough C+ grade on CinemaScore exit polls. That kind of audience score is common for the genre, said David A. Gross, who runs the movie consulting firm Franchise Entertainment Research. This is a solid opening for indie horror film, particularly for a micro-budget production like this. The weekend's two other newcomers landed outside of the top 5. Lionsgate's action thriller Shadow Force, which I think stars Kerry Washington, and Vertical Entertainment's airplane caper Fight or Flight, which stars, of course, friend of the show Katie Sackhoff, as well as Josh Hartnett, are battling for the ignominious distinction of 8th place on box office charts. Each film is estimated to open to $2 million from roughly 2,100 theaters, with a final number to be reported on Monday. Yeah, Kerry Washington stars in Shadow Force. That was a $40 million budget. Wow, you thought Shadow Force, starring Kerry Washington, was worth a $40 million budget. That is astounding. I don't know where you come up with that idea. Lionsgate typically covers approximately 2/3 of its production budget with international sales, which helps recoup theatrical losses for underperforming movies. Yeah, I guess. Fight or Flight features Josh Hartnett as a disgraced Secret Service agent who's recruited to identify and protect a wanted criminal. Vertical acquired the film's North American rights for single digits. Shadow Force will quickly move from theaters to streaming to recoup its production. A Fight or Flight, Gross says, this is a soft opening for any action thriller genre that struggles with the box office. Yeah, I mean, Josh Hartnett is great. It's a good actor, great actor, but he's not someone who's going to put a lot of butts in seats unless another name is attached. Like with Trap, you had M. Night Shyamalan. That was really the attraction for that one. And this one, unfortunately, just not a lot. It shows kind of his box office drawing power in this situation. Sinners in second place, though. Sinners remains strong with $21.1 million in its fourth frame, down just 36% from its prior outing. That's amazing. The vampire thriller continues to enjoy unprecedented holds at the domestic box office. Over the weekend, crossed a major milestone in the $200 million mark. Now ticket sales for the R-rated film stand at $260 million domestically and $68 million. So it's at $283 million globally. A Minecraft movie remained at number 3 with $8 million. I got to say, I finally saw Minecraft. Well, we'll talk about it. So far, the Warner Brothers video game adaptations generate a mighty $409 million in North America and $909 million globally. So I don't know if it's going to cross $1 billion, but it's coming close. It's creeping towards it. And Ben Affleck's action thriller, The Accountant 2, stayed in fourth place with $6.09 million. His third frame declining just 36% from the prior weekend. The Amazon MGM films grossed $58 million domestically and $71 million worldwide. Overall, the box office is down 11% compared to the same weekend in 2024 when Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes touched down with $58 million. And after this weekend, though, domestic revenues are 15.8% ahead of 2024, while still 32.5% behind 2019. So we've got Final Destination Bloodlines coming up this weekend. We've got Lilo Stitch and Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning over the Memorial Day holiday. And I'm going to be seeing Mission Impossible tonight, and hopefully I will have a blast seeing that movie. We will see as things go along. But yes, that's the situation there. So I think it's a good number for Thunderbolts. It's not a great number, but you were hoping for a better number, I'm sure. I'm sure that's the reason they made the change to New Avengers. But I got to say, just from my own gut feeling looking at this, I don't think the name change made one bit of difference to the box office. Of course, you all are feel free to feel otherwise, but I don't think it made a difference at all because it was word of mouth that was always going to carry the day with a movie like this. And I think the word of mouth was really strong. The reviews were really strong. And so it's no surprise that it held on to what 55% of it only went down 55% from its gross from last week. So it is a bunch of relatively unknown characters to people who haven't watched all the TV shows. Yes, you've got Florence Pugh from Black Widow with Yelena. You've got Sebastian Stan, obviously, as Bucky, but you do have David Harbour, I know, as Red Guardian from Black Widow as well. But that movie was really about Scarlet and Florence's relationship, and Rachel and David Harbour certainly were elements of the film, but they're not going to be too big of a box office draw at this point. John Walker from the Captain America Winter Soldier, Hannah John Kamen from Ghost, but life was really about the Ant-Man and Giant and everybody else involved, and Wasp and all of that. So not too big. And then you're introducing Lewis Pullman, who's getting a lot of love for his work in Sentry. So it was never going to be this massive blockbuster, right? It just didn't have quite the elements yet, because Florence Pugh is certainly a well-respected, well-beloved actress and certainly going to win a lot of awards in her career or get nominated for a bunch of awards as well for her career. But not yet someone who's proven to be a massive box office draw. So that being said, I think Marvel's probably happy with how the film is performing, considering they probably thought it might take a huge bath or a huge wash in this. So, you got to feel good about that if you're Marvel this morning, and you're hoping that, word of mouth and people going to see it repeatedly keeps it in theaters and keeps it in a good place overall. But I mean, the other part of this is Sinners, man. I mean, this is pretty amazing. 21.1 million in its fourth frame. I don't think anybody expected that. And I know it's $283 million worldwide. I think it still needs to hit around 400 to really turn a healthy, sizable profit for the film. But that being said, it is a pop culture milestone of a movie. A lot of people are talking about the movie. A lot of people enjoy the film. That's why the film is doing as well as it still is in its fourth weekend, because of repeat viewing and people enjoying the film and talking about it more. That being said, I mean, I think that film should be at 500 million by the time it's done its run, but I can't imagine that it will, although I'm hoping that it does, but we will see. But that's pretty impressive. And then a Minecraft movie, which I finally got a chance to see just a few days ago. I got to tell you, I was going into this thing thinking it was going to be terrible. I got to say, yes, there are some cringe-worthy moments, but I found myself enjoying the film much more than I thought I would. And I'm not the biggest Jack Black fan, and I think Momoa is a good actor, not a great actor. But I do love Danielle Brooks. But there's just something about, for me personally, Jared Hess and Jack Black, for whatever reason, when they get together, that combo works for me. As I said, I'm not the biggest Jack Black fan. I'm not a School of Rock person. I'm not, I'm not a holiday person or anything like that. But I loved Nacho Libre. It's, for whatever reason, that humor, that style of humor with how I'm built works for me. And so watching Jack Black, he was fantastic in Minecraft. Like, it was so smart to have him start the movie, because Jack is in that energy, just like he was in Mario Brothers with that voiceover work he did. There's just something about his energy that's interesting and attractive and fun, and you feel like you're in a good place. And he's come into this kind of warmer approach to his roles as he's gotten older, Jumanji, other stuff like that. And it's fun to see him. So I I got to say, I enjoyed it. I thought Momoa did a good job for the character he was playing. I thought he was going to be completely miscast, and I felt that way from the trailers. But as I was watching the movie, I think Momoa captured that sad sack guy, peaked at high school type of character and energy that worked for the film overall. So I'm not saying it's some amazing masterpiece or anything like that, but it was much better than I was anticipating. It was certainly sweeter than I thought it was going to be, and it worked for me for the most part. So no one's more surprised than me that a Minecraft movie was an enjoyable watch for me, and a brisk 100 minutes of a movie, which I thought was great. The Accountant 2 I saw last weekend, and so great to see it doing so well overall compared to its budget and what have you. So I really enjoyed that film as well. But I want to hear from you guys. You guys get a chance to watch any of this stuff over the weekend? What do you think about the Thunderbolt situation? What do you think about the box office? Is cheering on a film that only dropped 55%, is that not really what we should be doing? Or do we think because of all the factors surrounding the Thunderbolts release and the possibility that it could have been an absolute box office flop, that the fact that it's hanging on and still doing well in its second weekend, relatively well in its second weekend, does that speak volumes that this is a film that could stick around, even with healthier and meatier competition coming with Mission Impossible, Lilo and Stitch, and Final Destination, and other movies before we get to Fantastic Four? Does it have a shot to get to that 500 million? Does it have a shot to get to 400 million? What do you guys think overall about the movie? Because already I think it's almost at Sinners numbers at 283 million with what Sinners is doing, and Sinners in its fourth weekend, a 2-week head start. So do we think Thunderbolts is going to get there? It's a curious question. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section below, or let me know in the chat, or send in a question, thought, or comment here on the super chats to let me know what you think about it, because I think we should be positive overall about that response there. And what do you think about Sinners holding on as strongly as it's holding on? And what do you think about a Minecraft movie doing as well as it is? Do you think it has a shot? It's $91 million away. Do you think there's still enough of a chance that this film gets to $1 billion before its run is over? What do you think about all of that? I want to hear about it. And did any of you see Clown in the Cornfield or Fight or Flight? Maybe some of you are massive fans of Katie Sackhoff or Josh Hartnett and wanted to see it. Maybe you guys like the indie horror stuff that, like Terrifier and other films that have come on and become sensations. Did you guys like it? Was it worth it? Let me know there in the chat, or send in your question, thought, or comment. I want to hear about it. Send in a super chat to let me know what you think about all of this stuff. So, all right, let's move on to the other story here. And this is a Star Wars Andor situation. I hope you all enjoyed the last 3 episodes of Andor. How great were those episodes? We reviewed them on the Geek Buddies, which our spoiler review is up. We did it on yesterday, because Michael was out of town. We finally got a chance to sit down and kind of really savor those episodes, go through the beat by beat through those episodes. And what an incredible trio of episodes that was for Andor season 2. And we got to see the K2S of the K2 droids. They're doing some pretty brutal things. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't watched the Andor season 2 yet. Some of you may not want to watch, may want to wait to watch it until all of it drops. But there were some brutal things that we got to see those droids do. So this is an interesting story to jump into next here concerning the plans they had behind the scenes, because we'd heard Star Wars has had some horror plans in the past. So let's take a look at this story here and jump into it, because this is a fascinating situation with Gilroy and what he wanted to do with this. Apparently, Gilroy on the scrapped Andor horror episode. As you all know, Andor is set to close up its second and final season run with the last 3 episodes to air this coming week. The series has seen its seasons dominated by arcs of usually several episodes each. Nevertheless, the first season did contain a standalone 7th episode titled Announcement, which was set between the heist and prison arcs and offered a bit of a breather between those 2 arcs. And we know what happened in the first 6 episodes and these last 3 episodes. I imagine you would have needed a breather. I certainly needed a breather after episode 9, so they could have put another episode there as well. But the second season consists of 4 3-episode arcs, so there would appear to be little time for a standalone episode. Turns out, though, last week's 9th episode almost was one. Series creator, showrunner Tony Gilroy tells Collider that Cassian and K2SO's reunion was originally going to be a standalone episode inspired by Ridley Scott's Alien. Ooh. That plan was scrapped due to scheduling limitations. The K2 reunion, the K2, this is his quote here. The K2 reunion, Danny Gilroy, director, did that third block, and episode 9 was a standalone episode at that point. Episode 9 was an episode where Vel and Melshi were supplying Yavin, and we know Melshi from, of course, season 1 was a huge supply ship that was bringing all these supplies to Yavin, and a KX unit gets on the ship. It was sort of like Alien. It was like a horror movie. What happens on this ship? Cassian was on there as well, and it was a standalone episode. It was really badass. And Danny poured his ass into it, and they were like, you got to lose something really big. And that was the big thing that fell off right away. We can't do that. Now, I think, honest to God, it was really cool, but I wouldn't go back to it. I wouldn't swap it out. I like what we have now better. And, of course, the final 3 episodes of Andor will air on May 13th. Coming up here this week. So pretty astounding stuff too, because we've been hearing this idea of horror in Star Wars. Certainly Tony Gilroy has in these interviews over the last few weeks mentioned the fact that he thinks Star Wars can go in a number of directions, and that horror is one of the big directions he wants to see it go in the future. And certainly a lot of Star Wars fans have thought about and enjoyed the idea and entertain the idea favorably about having some horror elements in Star Wars. Certainly, we've seen some scary moments and some unsettling moments. Certainly, as badass as it is to see Vader turn on his lightsaber at the end of Rogue One, it's still a scary AF moment. So there are elements throughout the series of Star Wars, the movies and the TV shows, where we've seen some horrific moments and horror-filled moments or horror-tinged moments in Star Wars. So a full straight horror would be interesting to see. I wonder if they, if they had shot that episode, it would have been interesting to see that as like a special episode on Disney Plus. We've seen the Werewolf by Night and the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Those are essentially one-offs. And yes, they are tied to the overall MCU canon and Guardians and Werewolf situation, but I think you could have done this episode anyway. And even though you were going to lose it, you could have made the episode and then put it up on Disney Plus as like a special treat for the fans, special treat for the Star Wars fans. Would have been fun to see, especially the idea of a K2 KX unit there in the ship terrorizing Vel and Melshi and Cassian. Now, listen, we don't get a lot with Vel over these 2 seasons. So, and I like her as Faye Marsay, I think is the actress's name. I really enjoy her as Vel. And so a whole episode where we get to see her shine as an actress, I think would have been awesome. Because, I mean, if you haven't seen Adolescence, she's great in Adolescence, but even there, she's not one of the main focus actors. She is certainly one of the lead actors, but she's not, she's not the therapist, or she's not the main black detective, or Stephen Graham, or the mom or the sister in that family. So at times, she's a bit of a backseat in certain scenes. And so you would like to see more with Faye. And if you've seen her stuff across the pond there, her British stuff, she's fantastic. So would have been nice to see an episode with her and Melshi. Getting more with Melshi would have been awesome as well, as people really loved him from season 1, and more with Cassian there dealing with this situation with the KX unit, especially if he's about to befriend a KX unit in K2SO. It would have added even more kind of, suspicion and conflict, but maybe they felt they were walking the same terrain the Mandalorian walked, because remember, Mandalorian had issues with droids from the beginning. Maybe thought they were repeating themselves a bit. It was a bit too much to do that. I don't know, but it would have been interesting to see horror. And I think Star Wars, if it expands its reach, expands its brand even more, a horror episode of a series or a horror mini movie, I think would be fascinating to see on like Disney Plus. That would be really interesting. And you could attract a damn good horror director to come in and do something who's always been a Star Wars fan. It could be really interesting. I mean, Guillermo del Toro doing a Star Wars movie as a horror director would be really interesting, right? I mean, I think that could be fascinating. And there are plenty of up and coming horror directors who are Star Wars fans as well, who might love or relish the opportunity to do some horror filled projects in the future with Star Wars, So I think it would be interesting for sure. Let's see here. Yeah, so there you go. So we will see. Yeah, we've seen it in animation. That's a great point, Seattle. We've seen it in other things. There have been some horror elements in Mandalorian, in Andor, certainly in a couple of beats in a couple of moments or a few moments rather in the prequels. So I mean, there's possibilities there that you could play around with that kind of stuff, because not everything's gonna clearly with Andor and stuff like Skeleton Crew and Acolyte. You see, there's many different ways to portray Star Wars on screen, with a small screen or the big screen. So it could be fascinating to see what that's all about. Well, what do you all think? Is it time to put horror in Star Wars? Would you have liked to have seen this episode? Would you like them to release the script for this episode? So maybe there could be someone who could do some animatics on it, some fun animatics, do some kind of animation on a program or something, and create a version of this episode that people could enjoy kind of quietly on social media. What do you think about this? Or is Star Wars not the place for horror? Is that becoming too adults to go into that area of Star Wars? Everyone's entitled to their opinion on how they see their Star Wars. Let me know what you think there in the comments, and let me know what you think here in the chat, and send a super chat. Let me know what you think about the horror. Or do you have a horror story? Yeah, that'd be fun to talk about. If you have any story elements you'd like to see in a Star Wars horror film, send them my way. There we go. All right, well, let's take a quick break, and on the other side, we'll get into some Superman news, some X-Men news, and some other news here coming from the world of entertainment right after this.
I was at the airport, and TSA agent made fun of my wallet, told me I could fit my whole family in there if I wanted to, and it was a really good joke, buddy, but I'll tell you, made me self-conscious. And now I don't have to worry about that because I don't have the big bulky wallet anymore. Ridge is the bomb, yo. Why? Well, it's unique. It's slim. It's a modern design. It holds up to 12 cards plus cash. It's got premium materials like aluminum, titanium, carbon fiber. It's got over 50 colors and styles to choose from. So the one that I love my Giants customized one, and I know you're a Cowboys fan. Well, guess what? You can get one for the Cowboys too. Just don't tell me about it. It's got over 100,000 five-star reviews, and all Ridge products have a lifetime warranty. It's literally the last wallet that you're ever going to have to buy. Losing the wallet is the worst. It's the worst. But with the Ridge AirTag attachment, you'll always know where it is before panic mode kicks in. No matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping, 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all of their products. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off at Ridge. But you got to use that code Christian at checkout. You head on over to ridge.com, use that code Christian, then you're all set. After the purchase, they're going to say, hey, where'd you find us from? You're going to say, Kristian Harloff Show told me about it. And that's going to support the show. So go and do that. Don't get the Cowboys one. I guess you can. All right, I've been talking a lot about going to the gym, and I go 4 days a week. I do it. But I've been looking for something really to make sure that I can do on the weekends because I feel like I'm in it now. I'm in it. I want to get a good workout in. So Hydro, I do it all at home on my schedule, and I do it in 20 minutes. Rowing on the Hydro, it gets me the full body workout, and I don't ever even have to leave the house. It's great. I just found out about it not too long ago. I said, let me check it out. I saw all these great reviews about it, and man, it is the way to go. It's a secret weapon for a full body workout. It hits like 86% of your muscles, arms, legs, core, all of it. And you knock it out again in 20 minutes. It's efficient and it actually works. One thing that I really love about it, you don't get bored. Hydro's got tons of workouts with actual Olympians, and they're filmed in this gorgeous outdoor spots all over the world. It makes it way easier to stay motivated. If you're on the fence about it, there's a free shipping. It's 30-day risk-free trial, and Hydro offers a full year warranty. Honestly, no pressure. You try it out, you see how it feels. So if you need to skip the gym, not the workout, you stay on track with Hydro. For a limited time, go to hydro.com and use the code Christian. You save up to $475 off your Hydro Pro Rower during Hydro's Memorial Day sale. That is hydrow.com. Use the code Christian. That is Hydro, hydrow.com. Code Christian to save up to $475. Hydro.com. Code Christian.
Hey, how about that? Hydro.com. I was looking it up right now. I bought a water rower years ago at the beginning of the pandemic, and I tried it a few times, and I realized it wasn't for me. I've been trying to sell that thing ever since. By the way, I'm down 25 pounds. from where I was 6 weeks ago, just changing my eating habits and following this really cool plan. And now I want to get back into actual healthy shape. So the hydro is something I've been looking at. Now I know it's a pretty penny, but with the discounts you get and the coupon there from Kristian, maybe some of you who've been on the fence on it and can afford it because they do payments. They do payments like what you pay to go to the gym. And you could do it right at your home. You could do it right in your garage if you have a garage, or do it right in your home. The mats they offer, and there's multiple sizes of hydro. They offer mats, so you're not getting your sweat on your wood or on the carpet there. And they can fit inside a regular size bedroom if you've got room for it. And the screen there is really cool. I tried it out at a local fitness appliance store months ago, and it's pretty awesome. And the screen is pretty amazing, and you can watch your rowing there. You can see a beautiful landscapes as you're rowing. It's pretty awesome stuff. So, if you've been on the fence on it, I would highly recommend it with hydro, because I've heard nothing but great things with the people I've reached out to who have one, or the reviews I've seen from people. I've reached out to them personally, because I always investigate something before I buy it. And so I like to reach out to people who actually leave comments and email them or send them a reply and see if they'll reply back with a little more in-depth conversation about this thing. And the hydro is a good idea, man. It's a good idea. Just saying it. Norina Rat says, just don't overeat and get cardio. It ain't rocket science. No, it isn't, Rena. But you're also removing all the mental stuff that goes on with why people overeat. You're also removing the reasons why, as people get older, how it's harder to lose weight. And you're also removing all the reasons why that the affordability of healthy food is so much more expensive than regular food. So you may think you've figured everything out, but there's so much more than just a glib one-liner there, Norina. But I know you're an angry person. I've seen your comments on my YouTube before. So, but yes, I'm getting back into shape. I'm 239 right now. It was 264 when I started this new meal plan. And it's not a diet. It's a meal plan. I've removed sugar. I've removed carbohydrates or bad carbohydrates. I take in healthy fats, just 2 eggs in the morning, half of a protein shake a couple hours later, a lunch that is about 6 ounces of meat with 2 cups of vegetables, 2 or 3 hours later, another half a protein shake. Then my dinner, and if I feel like a snack at the end, there's a great snack that I can do. And for those of you listening to me on the Cinephiles, you know where I'm losing. Tyler says, "I know you're an angry person." I'm not, Tyler. I've got a beautiful girlfriend, a nice life, a bunch of revenue streams. But I am a passionate person. I will say that I am a passionate person. If I was an angry person, you would see me with like a criminal record of arrests of assault and battery and brazen, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't do that stuff. I'll get passionate. I'll go back and forth with people for sure, but not an angry person. Zebia says that sounds like a diet. Is it a diet? If you're eating healthy food, if you're eating healthy vegetables, if you're eating healthy meats, if you're eating good, that's not a diet. That's actually a lifestyle change, right? From eating fast food. And when I get down to 220, which is the ultimate goal, then I'll start working in fast food, but or meals out somewhere where I can eat whatever I want or get dessert. Because I'll also be, hopefully by the time I get to 220, have started a workout program that works for me. And I go back to where I was when I was really in some of the best shape of my life, when I was 215 and doing CrossFit 2 or 3 times a week, 4 times a week sometimes. That was a really great time in my life. So just trying to get back to it. And so, yeah, and my sedentary lifestyle, COVID, the comfortability of it, being able to afford the food I want, all of that contributed to me overeating. And sometimes you get to a point where it's like, how can I get back on the wagon? Well, you got a little bit of help. And so for me, luckily, a brand reached out to me and offered me a program, and it's been working so well. So if you listen to the Cinephiles, you know which program I'm talking about. Since they don't sponsor Kristian, I don't want to mention it on the show. It's not paying for free ad time, but hydro rowers are pretty cool. So, if you want to try it out, get yourself in that situation and get yourself a hydro rower. I just reached out to Kristian going like, hey man, what's the deal? I want one badly. Come on, let's have a conversation. Anyway, yes, Tyler says we all gained weight during lockdown. Some people lost weight. Some people went really hardcore into the fitness thing. during COVID. So everybody reacted differently to that situation for sure. Is Papadon? Where's Papadon? Is Papadon hanging out with you, Rohit? I love Papadon. Papadon is the best. He's a Greek god. He is a Greek god, Papadon. Anyway, you're not here to listen to me talk about the travails of my weight. We're here to talk about entertainment. As I come back from the break, we're about to jump into the Superman story, but there's 22 super chats here. I would love to get to 100 super chats by the end of the show. Help me out with doing that. We got 450 of you hanging out with us live. Please send in your questions, thoughts, and comments on the super chats so I can answer them there at the end of the show, and we can give Coy and Winston and Roxy a run for their monies, and Steph and Mike a run for their monies as well. I set the table, so let's set the table high and get ourselves to 100 super chats. I would really appreciate it. Healthy fats, Roga talking about that cake. No, those are not healthy fats. Those are not healthy fats. Cake. Good situation there, but no, those are not healthy fats. All right, let's move on to the Superman story. Enough of me talking about my situation here. Let's get into this. What are we doing here? You know what? I want to do it this way. Can I do it this? No, I can't do it that way. Where's the way I want to do it? Where is it? There we go. I guess I got to move myself over a little bit. All right, here we go. Let's get into this story, make it a little bit bigger. I don't have the equipment that other people do when they're doing the show. All right, Superman, the Man of Steel, takes to the skies in a motion poster ahead of this Wednesday's trailer debut. That's right. It is debuting on Wednesday. That's the big rumor. DC Studios and James Gunn have confirmed, well, not rumor, I guess, have confirmed that the new Superman trailer will be released this Wednesday with a motion poster that sees David Corenswet's Man of Tomorrow take flight. Billboards across the world were lit up with news that the first full Superman trailer will be released this Wednesday, and the video has now been officially released online. In this motion poster for the DCU reboot, we see the familiar sight of Superman and Krypto together. However, this time, they're watching over Metropolis, and the teaser offers perhaps our best look yet at the fictional city's iconic skyline. The Man of Tomorrow then takes flight before we get confirmation about the trailer landing on Wednesday. We currently expect it to hit around 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though a release time hasn't been announced as we write this. So far, we've had a teaser trailer, a 5-minute preview, and a featurette for Superman. And for some of you who've been monitoring everything Superman, we had a milk bone commercial that dropped today with Mr. Terrific in the commercial as well, with Krypto, of course. With that in mind, it will be interesting to see how much more of the story this full trailer reveals, not to mention the type of epic visuals comic book readers are hoping to see on screen. Superman has a fight on its hands, though, this summer against Jurassic World Rebirth, the Fantastic Four First Steps, and Smurfs. So it's imperative that this next preview wow fans and regular moviegoers like. I think it's funny that no one is factoring in Mission Impossible having a long life after it drops here in the next couple of weeks by the time Superman which is July 11th, which is, of course, I think Fantastic, just a couple of weeks before Comic-Con, because Fantastic Four, I think, drops right around Comic-Con. Teasing what to expect from the reboot last December, filmmaker James Gunn said, quote, "I think we can expect a Superman who's about compassion of the human spirit, a Superman who's about kindness, love, and compassion while also being a very strong character." Isn't that every Superman? I feel like it is. So I think he's the best of humanity, even though he is an alien from out of space. Check out this new teaser for the Superman. Okay, so can we play this? Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. Look at that iconic. Look up. Superman. There he is. Corenswet rolling through there. So, yeah, that's cool. Flying through the air. Okay, new trailer Wednesday. But let's take a look at this. All right, there we go. There's the Daily Planet. There's all the cool things you see there in Metropolis, the skyline. I love the double towers. That is clearly Lex Core. Or what are they calling it? Luthor Core or something like that in this particular one. But yeah, pretty cool skyline there. All gold. That's fascinating. Gold. It's gold. That's a fascinating. So let's stop sharing there. There we go. Let's get out of that. So fascinating situation there for the Superman trailer. I like that we got the motion poster. What more are we going to get in the trailer that's coming? Are you guys excited about that? Yes, Chris. I love gold. I love that movie. I don't care what anybody says. I love Goldmember. So I like this as a motion poster. It's really cool. I know some of you think I'm a little down on this Superman situation because some of the hot mic stuff we've discussed in the past, but I am hoping that it is a good movie. I want it to be a good movie. I'm going in with my fingers crossed that this is a good movie. Although I think if it is, it's going to heat up so many battles here between which is the best Superman, the 1978 Superman, Man of Steel, or this one. I don't think anyone's going to factor in the Brandon Routh version. No offense to Mr. Routh there, but certainly this is going to be interesting to see how people react to this Superman and how people react when they finally see some of the things they've heard out of context, how they finally see it in the Superman movie, and if it's going to work. We've heard a lot of stories, certainly, number of scoopers, not just Jeff, but other people who have connections to the industry, know people in these studios, have talked about the reactions to these early screenings and the reaction, some of the rumors of editing and changing things around and making them work. But it's all part of the process, because in the end, what you want is a damn good Superman movie. Who cares how you got there? You just want a damn good Superman movie. So I wonder if this trailer coming up on Wednesday is going to give us even more of the footage, even more of the story, even more of the relationship moments, the character moments, the story beats that are going to be in this, and show us more of James Gunn's direction and the cinematography and the way he is framing the story. I mean, he's already using unusual camera angles from that first trailer to convey something we've never seen, or angles we've never seen in Superman movies are being used here. I'm thinking of the scene where it's spinning around as he's punching through the glass. It's really interesting stuff from James overall. So I'm excited to see what we're going to get here in this trailer. And man, this movie is so highly anticipated. The fact that they're telling you the time of where they anticipate the trailer, the fact they're telling you it's coming out on a certain day, like that speaks volumes. Because I think the same thing happened leading up to the Superman trailer. The first Superman trailer was like, this is when it's dropping. This is the time that it's dropping. Pay attention. Whereas today we had another F1 trailer. There was no announcement that a new F1 trailer was coming today or anything like that, but it dropped this morning as a nice surprise. And I did my reaction for it. It's up on the channel now, but on my channel now, but we didn't know it was coming. So this is a fascinating situation when you look at Superman and the way it's building up and the hype. And I think people will get excited fully once this thing starts to have its first screenings and we start to see critics that some of you all respect, some of my fellow critics and reviewers and pundits giving their 2 cents on it. I keep waiting to get that invite. I can't wait to see it. Maybe I'll get a chance to see it up in LA and bring a few friends along, or I'll have to see it down here in San Diego. But I'm very curious, and I'm so wondering what we're going to get from the new trailer. I'm just very curious to see what we're going to get from this new trailer. Is there going to be more Lois? Is there going to be more Lex? Are we going to see more with Maxwell Lord? Because we saw him teased in the Peacemaker season 2 trailer that dropped a few days ago. Are we going to get more with Guy, with Hawkgirl, with Metamorpho? What are they going to show us? And of course, I'm sure we'll have more with Crypto. But what are they going to show us on this? And will they leave us with a big tease in terms of a cliffhanger of a character? Because we saw that with Sinners, right? They kind of revealed too much. Is Superman going to take a chance to reveal too much, or are they going to keep everything pretty much under wraps and just give just a little bit of newer stuff here in this new trailer? We're curious to see, because as the article points out, we've already seen like a sneak peek. We've seen an official trailer. We've seen these commercials. There was a Puppy Bowl thing that went on during the Super Bowl. So there's been a lot of promotion for the film. And other than the official trailer, there's been backlash on the other stuff. So very curious to see how people are going to react to this trailer on Wednesday. So what do you guys want to see from this trailer? Let me know in the comments section. Let me know. Send in a super chat. Let me know what you hope to see or what you want to see in this trailer on Wednesday. Be curious. And it's going to be fascinating to see what it ends up being for sure. All right, let's see what else have we got to talk about today. Oh, we got a couple of things. Well, let me see. Let me check. It's always good to check Dark Horizons and see if anything's breaking. And of course, I depend on you all. If you all want to, if there's anything breaking that you guys see, let me know as we're going through the show here. Oh, apparently the first reviews for Murderbot are in. A lot of people are looking forward to that series on Apple. So curious to see what to say. Oh, and did you guys get a chance to see The Last of Us? No spoilers. Season 2, episode 5 last night. Our review on the Geek Buddies is coming out at 2 p.m. PT today. But what an episode! What an interesting episode as we get further into the world of The Last of Us, and we've introduced something from the game I'm not going to spoil it, but we've introduced something from the game that's pretty massive from the game. And we see more with Ellie and Dina, and then we see what they confront with this civil war going on between these two warring sides, and then what happens at the end there, which is pretty insane in terms of what Ellie does and her reasonings for why she's doing it, and do we agree with them? So I thought this was a damn good episode. I think it was the shortest episode of the season. I think it was only 45 minutes. It wasn't that long, but it was an interesting episode. And so we break it on down at 2:00 today on the Geek Buddies, which is on the Outlaw Nation channel. If you guys don't subscribe to my channel, you want to check out what I got going on there, head on over to youtube.com/John Rocha Says. That's the Outlaw Nation. Spill the Tequila is back with me and Winston A. Marshall weekly, although this week Winston is out of town, so we won't be doing an episode with him this week. I'll probably go solo or try to rope somebody in to be my guest tomorrow night. The reaction videos, reviews, all of that is up there on the channel. Geek Buddies reviews, Geek Buddies main shows are up there. The Hot Mic with me and Jeff Snyder is up there every Thursday. Jeff and I are talking about adding a second show, which we would drop probably on a Monday night or a Tuesday, or no, a Monday night, I guess. We would drop a second show talking about everything that went on over the weekend and on Friday. So there's possibilities of that coming. That will be a pre-tape show, not a regular live show. So there's talk about that. So the Hot Mic expanding, Spill the Tequilas, and plus a bunch of new graphics on all the shows. So head on over there, youtube.com/John Rocha Says, and you can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. All right, let's move on to some X-Men news and talk about this bit of story that dropped here with Neve Campbell. For those of you who are big Scream fans, this is coming to us from comicbookmovie.com. Mark Cassidy over there. Rumor, Scream star Neve Campbell has been cast as Polaris in MCU's X-Men reboot. Of course, we had the story last week that Jake Schreier will possibly be directing the X-Men movie, that he's in talks to do it, that they liked what he did with Thunderbolts, so they want to offer him the X-Men movie. Apparently, it hasn't been officially announced, but it seems like all signs are pointing to it happening. Following the recent news that Thunderbolts director Jake Schreier is in early talks to helm Marvel Studios' X-Men, we have a casting rumor relating to a popular mutant character who has yet to appear on the big screen. According to My Time to Shine Hello, Scream star Neve Campbell has been cast as Polaris. There have been numerous rumors claiming that certain actors are being eyed for specific roles, certainly Sadie Sink, Harris Dickinson, et cetera, in the movie. But this is the first time we've heard that someone has actually been cast. Oh, Dr. Lorna Sally Dane, who is a.k.a. Polaris, was introduced in the late 60s before being revealed to be Magneto's daughter many years later, right? Just like Wanda is. She has similar powers to her father and suffers from mental health issues, which frequently lead to her losing control and turning on her fellow mutant heroes. She has also been known as Malice and one of Apocalypse's four horsemen, Pestilence. If you guys remember that run from the 1990s, I think late 80s, 90s, I loved the Apocalypse storyline, the Age of Apocalypse, and I loved what happened to Angel, Warren Worthington III, when he became controlled by Apocalypse, then broke away from Apocalypse. It was the best version of Angel we've ever seen, in my opinion, with his the feathers on his wings being these blades he can fling. I thought it was pretty awesome reconstruction of Angel. But Polaris, yeah, as Pestilence, she was pretty brutal and interesting as well in the version. So fascinating. Polaris made her live-action debut in 2018's The Gifted series, where she was played by Emma Dumont. If this is accurate, the trade should weigh in soon if it's on the level. Campbell would likely be introduced as one of the first generation of X-Men, possibly making her debut alongside members of the original 20th Century Fox era cast that are set to return for Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars, before going to have a larger part in the X-Men movie. In related news, photographer Unbox HD is claiming that this is a photo or a shot of Patrick Schwarzenegger as Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, on the set of presumably Avengers Doomsday. No, we're not buying it either. The Hot Mic Chef Snyder, that's my boy, that's my show, recently reported that Harris Dickinson, Margaret Qualley, and Julia Butters are still on the studio's radar. They were said to be in contention to play Cyclops, Rogue, and Kitty Pryde, but we don't know if this is still the case. And believes Alien Romulus star David Johnson could be, quote, back in play for an unknown part. He also reports that 15-year-old Trinity Bliss We reported this last week, who made her big screen debut as Tuck in James Cameron's Avatar: Way of the Water, might be in line to play Jubilee. Other names that have popped up in the rumor mill include Hunter Schafer for Mystique, Ayo Edeberry for Storm, and Javier Bardem for Mr. Sinister. Here's what Kevin Feige had to say about his 10-year plan for the Mutant Saga in a recent interview. I think you will see that what continues in our next few movies with some X-Men players that you might recognize. Right after that, the whole story of Secret Wars really leads us into the new age of mutants and of the X-Men. Again, it's one of those dreams come true. We finally have the X-Men back. Michael Leslie's penning the script, who did the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Assassin's Creed, which was terrible, and Macbeth, which I thought was really good with Fassbender. But we wouldn't be surprised if another writer or two were brought in to give another pass before the movie enters production. Certainly that happened with Clayface recently. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. So it would be an interesting way. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fun casting thing, don't you think? Like Neve Campbell, who now is coming back to be the lead in Scream 7, or co-lead in Scream 7, depending on how they're going with that. Her coming into the mix here, and of course, under Fox for the X-Men, maybe she will be Polaris, Ian McKellen's daughter. So that could be fun to bring her in. And if you're only bringing her in for a one-off, she could be killed, and it's no big deal because you're moving forward with another batch of X-Men to be your main X-Men. Or because Feige is talking about the X-Men having a 10-year plan, a lot of people assumed he was just going to kill off all the Fox X-Men, but it may be a possibility that we're going to have multiple teams of X-Men or multiple versions of X-Men that are all existing on the same Earth. That is very, very possible on the main timeline of Earth 616. So it's quite possible that the assumptions we're making about the death of some of these X-Men from the Fox universe might not be true. And you bring in Neve Campbell to play Polaris, maybe there are future Fox TV, future TV series rather, with Fox's X-Men, and they're navigating this new world, how they're functioning within this new world. I don't know that we'd have two Professor X's and two Magnetos necessarily, but you could have a Polaris, but not a Polaris that's part of the new batch of X-Men. So that there's a way to make that work, depending on how they feel about Channing Tatum's Gambit. Maybe they want to make that Gambit a permanent part of the MCU going forward so he doesn't die. So there's going to be an interesting thing that happens. I don't think I'm starting to move away from this belief that all the Fox X-Men are just going to be cannon fodder, essentially, for Doomsday, or for Doom, rather, or Galactus, or anybody else is going to be involved on the villain side of things here in Doomsday and Secret War. So I'll be very curious to see how all that plays out as we go forward. So, all right, 450 of you hanging out right now, 27 super chats. Hey, y'all, love to get to 100. Send in your super chats. We're getting close to the end of the show. We got one more story to hit, but I would love to answer your questions. And of course, Kristian Harloff is going to be watching this. So if you've got questions for Kristian Harloff, send them in on your super chats, and I'm sure Kristian can answer them tomorrow on the show. But as I said, would love to get to 100, man. Help me get to 100. Would be amazing to get to 100 here to start off the week and challenge Roxy, challenge Coy and Winston, who won last week, and Steph and Mike, who might be coming up later on this week as well. All right, so we have some Andy Muschietti news here to finish off our stories for this Monday. Let's get into it here. Let me see what we got. Actually, you know what? As I said, I like the bigger version. What is it? There we go. The bigger version here. So, all right, let's move into this. Muschietti to direct space hostage film Drift. All right, let's see what we got here. I think this is a little bit bigger. All right, so filmmaker Andy Muschietti, of course, we all know him from It and The Flash, is attached to direct the grounded sci-fi mission feature Drift, which Skydance won in a heated auction over the weekend. The film will be based on a 38-page unpublished short story by Ben Queen and Jason Shumanov, and was sold for around $2 million, a number that could go higher if it goes forward. Andy and Barbara Muschietti's Double Dream and Scott Glasgold's 1201 Films companies will produce the project, which is being dubbed Gravity Meets Arrival. Interesting. In the film, an astronaut vanishes during a space mission. His father, a once legendary, now fallen from Grace shuttle commander, is pulled into a high-stakes hostage exchange in space to get his boy back from captors who are not from Earth. Oh, man, just that log line has Gerard Butler's name all over. Now, I know Andy Muschietti is probably going to get someone else, maybe Josh Brolin or somebody, to play this role, but damn, I could see Gerard Butler knocking this out of the park. Queen and Schumann will be adapting their own short story, which was on the market for less than 24 hours before it was sold. Numerous other bids were made, but Skydance won the day with Muschietti, who said to be emphatic about directing it. Andy Muschietti helmed 2 episodes of the upcoming Max series, It Welcome to Derry, and remains attached to the in-development live-action adaptation of the Attack on Titan franchise, which, of course, is the anime that is being turned into a live-action version. This feels a little bit like, what was it, Ad Astra, when Brad Pitt had to go find his dad who was stuck out in the middle of space somewhere. But so his father, a once legendary, now fallen from grace shuttle commander, is pulled into a high stakes hostage. I mean, could Ben Affleck go back into space? That could be an interesting casting situation. Have him be the dad. I mean, he's in the dad roles now. He's basically a dad now. So could that be a situation where you bring someone like him to go back into space, like Armageddon, to go get his boy back from captors who are not from this earth? And that's interesting too. Will this have a horror element to it? Because of course, Muschietti loves to do horror. Although there were only some horror elements in Flash. It wasn't, obviously a full horror. It was the full horror here, but that could be fascinating too. Like, what are these aliens like? What is the situation? When you throw in Gravity meets Arrival, Gravity, of course, with Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. And that situation was just about repairing a spaceship and trying to get back to Earth without dying, or shuttle rather, get back to Earth without dying. Arrival is completely something else, where those aliens arrive on Earth and are immediately greeted initially with skepticism and horror, and then eventually you realize what they're trying to do and what they're working towards. So it could be an interesting situation, but I like this possibility for Andy Muschietti because I think he's a fantastic director. I know The Flash aside, and The Flash, you could argue, is a lot of cooks in the kitchen making their own decisions about things, and a lot of decisions being made above Andy's head, and he's having to go along because it's a franchise situation. But this could be fascinating to see Andy back going a little more ground level. What is he going to create on the ground level with this version of a sci-fi horror film out in space? And what's the overall point of the story that he's trying to tell in this? The son and the dad, what is he going for here? Is this going to be a massive budget film, or is this going to be more moderately budget, like The Creator was for, like, what was it, 80 million or 90 million, whatever The Creator was that it was made for? Is that the angle they're going on? So, but look, Andy could use a hit. I know It Welcome to Derry is coming, but that's a TV series. After The Flash, I think Andy could use a hit on screen, and maybe going back to his roots a little bit, going back to stuff that doesn't necessarily have this having to hit these franchise requirements, is the way that Andy kind of finds his way back into some more success and more offers coming down the pike for him as a director. So that could be fascinating to see as well. Yeah, see, I'm not saying he's in director's jail, but I know that, a lot of people with that Flash, they have feelings and whatever. And, Hollywood is a very fickle beast at Hollywood. So you just never know what he's going to, what his situation is right now. Yeah. Carrion says, so I guess The Brave and the Bold is not happening then. Well, I mean, I told you guys over a year ago that I had heard from my people inside Warner Brothers that Muschietti was off of Brave and the Bold, and that the reaction to Flash was a massive reason why. And so it would not, they haven't officially announced it, but they've all but said he's not going to be doing Brave and the Bold, no matter what your hardcore DC fanboys are going to try to claim. The fact that they've made it very clear that they are distancing themselves from Andy to it, and it's like, oh, we're going to run the script by Andy. That's all Hollywood speak for. We're moving away from Andy, but we'll make it seem as if he's still part of the process, and then Andy can come up with whatever excuse he wants in order to save face, so he doesn't have to do it. So he could be like, well, I looked at the script and it didn't seem to me to be the script that I wanted to do. And, this happens. Franchises change, their requirements of their characters change. So it's probably best for me to step aside and let another director do it. Don't be surprised if that's how it all goes down. And yes, I agree. I don't think Andy would be taking calls for other projects. I don't think Andy would be looking and trying to buy scripts. I don't think Andy would be looking to direct other movies if Brave and the Bold was on the horizon for him. So that's a great thing you bring up here. When you look at the situation here, Agarian, that it's clear he's not going to be coming back, and just reaffirms what I broke a year ago on the hot mic or over a year ago on the hot mic about Andy Muschietti being in the Brave and the Bold. He's not going to be directing it. He might get executive producer credit because he was on the project. He might get even co-writing credit, possibly, but I can't imagine that he will direct in the future. So we should start looking at it. But it's going to be curious because those rumors of Matt Reeves leaving the Batman Part 2 keep heating up. Yes, there have been pushback on the Production Weekly story. People saying, well, his name was never listed as a director in Production Weekly. And sure, that's certainly true. I think I don't subscribe to it, but a lot of people reaffirm that was true. But you know, these whenever there's smoke and a lot of scoopers are on a story, it's because there's fire, but they're not allowed to talk about it just yet because they want to keep contacts or they want to respect Matt's whatever Matt's going through behind the scenes. But it certainly feels like the Batman Part 2 is moving towards either not going to happen or someone else will be directing it. And I wonder who that someone could be. Because I mean, I don't know. I mean, because there's a lot of rumors, and Jeff has said this, and other people have said this, that James Gunn is working on a world's finest movie. So would it be possible that either James kills the Batman completely or he directs the Batman Part 2, and then eventually we get a world's finest where it's Pattinson being brought into the overall universe of the DCU with Corenswet Superman? You know, right now there's a million possibilities. Honestly, there's a million possibilities. Either it doesn't happen at all and that universe is dead. We'll never see Colin Farrell as the Penguin again unless he's in the main DCU universe. And Robert Pattinson is either done being Batman or he is the Batman that is going to be a part of the DCU universe. There's also a possibility that a new director is brought in and that is still kept separate. So there's a lot of possibilities here that I think is going to be interesting. And I guarantee you, once we get to, if they ever get to a Crisis on Infinite Earths, if they ever get to that live action and are successful with it, there's still a possibility that we get a Lady Gaga Harley Quinn return and a Joaquin Phoenix Joker return. Don't rule it out. I don't think we've seen the last of it, of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. Even though he died I don't die, but things happen in the movie, right? So the idea of him being Joker, I just was curious to see if they open that door to it overall. So, all right, let's see what we got here. Okay, I think that's all the stories. So let's hit these questions. Let's get into it. Oh, sorry. Let me respond to this text from Kristian because I'm I want that to anyway, I might have to fly to New York to try out his thing. But anyway, let's get into these questions here. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. 420 questions so far. Oh, sorry, 420 people watching. Would love to get to 100 questions by the end of the show. We're at an hour and 5 minutes, 12:05 p.m. PT here on the West Coast. But we have until 1. If the questions keep going, we'll stay until 1. So here we go. Matt Sinister McCall says, Beth Snyder, clowns offended and boycotted clown in the cornfield. Jeremy Renner rejects a Blumhouse offer after they wanted to pay him in Hershey Kisses. Yes. Well, I mean, people are saying the clown in the cornfield did fine for the indie horror that it was. So I guess we'll see if that's true. And we'll see what the second weekend of that is. But right now, if you are a person who loves horror and you're not writing a horror movie script right now, I don't know what you're doing. You never effing know. Any of you who are listening or watching, if you're a screenwriter for horror, I would highly recommend you write a script if you really have a story to tell, because you just never know what competition you submit that to, where an up-and-coming young horror director or whatever age horror director sees it and decides they want to do it. And clearly there are companies, there are production companies, there are studios who are willing to shell out just a little bit of money to take a chance that that could be the next Terrifier or the next Blair Witch, to go all the way back to that movie, or any other of the recent horror films that were made for low budget but brought in a massive return. So you just never know. I just encourage you guys, if you're writing one, don't give up. Make sure you get it right so you can send it in. You just never know. But yes, Jeremy Renner refused after pain with Hershey Kisses, that's for sure. Hank Pym, I was live at SmackDown last week. Front row, nice. Had to sit through Jade and Nia. No yeet, that's for sure. Oof, Nia Jax and Jade. I mean, I don't understand it, but was able to look at Tiffy, who was sitting ringside. Yeet. Yeah. Tiffy time, of course. Tiffany, you know, sometimes people forget she's still growing as a wrestler. Like, I don't think she's I don't think she's at the top of her game yet. I don't think she's in her prime yet. She's still growing. That Charlotte match, I think, exposed some cracks in Tiffany as a wrestler. Yes, Charlotte might have been sandbagging her, or might have been making the match a little more difficult. But your job when you're in your prime is to carry those matches when your opponent is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that's a rite of passage. So we will see more from Tiffany. But yeah, I don't know, Jade. I mean, how many more years do you need? Al Rencha says, why is the studio clueless about Transformers? Bayverse ruined the IP, didn't follow up Bumblebee. Rise of the Beast failed, mismarketed Transformers 1, and now the IP is in limbo. Well, first of all, I reject the notion that Bayverse ruined the IP because it made $4.5 billion. Do you know how many franchises would love to have their IP ruined to the tune of $4.5 billion? I've seen IP ruined for millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars in return at the box office. So 4.5 billion. I think the horrible truth, and you guys can hate me for saying this all you want, is that people won't get excited until someone like Michael Bay comes back to direct a Transformers film. You need a director who is going to excite you. No offense to the Bumblebee film. I thought that was damn good. Travis Knight did an excellent job. Didn't make anywhere near $1 billion, right? You look at Rise of the Beasts. Stephen Cable Jr., fantastic director, certainly, but not a really well-known name. Even with Creed 2, not a really well-known name. But, you know, he was able to do a movie. I didn't think it was the best movie. I reviewed it with my boy Griffin Schiller over at Film Speak, but on my channel. But, you know, it wasn't that exciting of a movie, unfortunately. Yes, they mismarketed Transformers 1, but it's an animated film. It wasn't going to make a crap ton. Look how much Spider-Verse makes, and that's considered the top animated film from a franchise. So I don't know if the Transformers 1 was going to make that much more, even if they had marketed that one correctly. So I think, in my opinion, that until you get someone of Michael Bay's caliber, now I don't know if Michael Bay is the choice, although I think it would be great to have him come back and do another one as an FU and it makes $1 billion to shut all these people up. But I don't think until you get a director of that kind of caliber and that kind of quality to take on Transformers that people are going to be excited about the brand again. Because look, there's a lot in that brand that you can market and have a lot of fun with. I mean, there's no reason we have 10 He-Man shows right now on Netflix, but we don't have a Transformers pipeline going with all this stuff going through. It's just effing shocking, to be honest with you. So yeah, you need to get someone like we've gotten with James Gunn in DC, Feige at Marvel. Who is the person recently that's kind of Trachtenberg over at Prey with Predator. You need someone who understands the greatness of the IP, who is going to come in with some exciting ideas, who's going to attract exciting creatives to be a part of it in order to rebrand the franchise and bring in the people who didn't like the Michael Bay people and still honor the ones who did like the Michael Bay stuff, like me. So we'll see. We'll see. Al Richard says, when will Clark Wolf be back on the show? I don't know. I'm not in charge of the booking, but maybe Kristian will let you know. And I think Clark has a E on the end of one of those. It's been so long since I've seen her. I don't know. I think there's an E on Wolf or on Clark. I'm not sure. But she's probably doing her horror stuff and working on those things. Hank Pym says, Orton's my all-time favorite. Was insane getting to see him RKO Cena so close up. Also, the guy who threw the beer was about 3 rows behind me. It was crazy. Right. Cena had a beer bottle thrown at him. I think it was a plastic one. I don't think it was a glass one because I don't think they sell the glass ones in the stadiums, or in the arenas. But yeah, that was an interesting moment. That's a very NWO moment, although it's a small NWO moment. I mean, those guys used to get all kinds of trash thrown at them in the ring. And yeah, RKO, Randy Orton RKOing Cena must have been a blast to see up close. I bet that was a lot of fun. I would have loved to have been there for that as well. GT86_Ben says, my wife ordered some chai latte drinks off Amazon a couple of days ago, and she got sent a whole case of Yoo-Hoos instead. I sent you a picture on Instagram. I'm sure he's talking to Kristian, that he sent a picture to Kristian on Instagram. I'm sure Kristian will see that one, GT86, and respond to it. Remind him about it tomorrow if you're watching the show. Sherlock 277 says, Kristian, I just want to say I really liked the discussion you had about J.K. Rowling last week. Refreshing to actually hear a civil conversation about it and show that it's not all black and white. I don't know who he had this conversation with. I don't know what Kristian said. Jeff and I spoke about it on the show on the hot mic. And we went back and forth about the situation because Jeff thought it was great to see J.K. Rowling say that she would never use her influence to fire Papa Esidu, who was cast as Severus Snape, which is a nice thing to say. But on the other side of the token, J.K. Rowling is also the person who comes out and ridicules Pedro Pascal and claims she doesn't know who he is. When Pedro calls her out for her opinions on trans people. And certainly Jeff was very positive about trans. Jeff's a very big fan of trans rights. He said that on the show, and as am I. And so we talked about it there. And listen, civil conversation is great. I think it's always good to have civil conversations, but doesn't mean they can't be passionate. As you see on the hot mic weekly, Jeff and I battle. We don't always agree and we battle, but in the end, we're still friends afterwards and move forward to the next topics, so it's good to have conversations about these things, but you can't, for me, your behavior has to be consistent. If you're a person who is really like this good person who would never fire someone for having different political beliefs, to take a picture of yourself smoking a cigar after the Supreme Court makes a decision in the UK that really kind of hinders the rights of trans people, that's not a good thing to do. You saying someone who calls you out for your opinions on this situation that you don't know them when you actually do know them, and it's bullshit that you didn't know them. That's what I mean. There's an inconsistency here, and I think that should be called out as well. And so equal praise and equal derision should be delivered, I think, in my opinion. Mike Joyce says, Superman looks like it'll be the best dog movie ever. I don't know. The Marley and Me people, the old school Lassie people, there might be some people who might contradict that, man, but we'll see. I haven't been sold on crypto, but maybe as we see it in context in the film, it'll be a much better situation. Buster Barnes says, there's too much crypto, people say after seeing clips from a dog treat commercial. God, I hope no one's saying that. I mean, come on, it's a dog treat commercial. I don't like that they've got Mr. Terrific jumping up and down like that. I don't know. Maybe that's a thing related to his powers, but I don't want to see that. I want to see, maybe in this new trailer, we'll see more from Mr. Terrific as well, because we've only seen shots. I don't think he's even said a word in any of the trailers or sneak peeks yet. So I'd like to see more of that. Matt Krugman says, Superman marketing is reminding me of early 2000s. Yeah, I think that's fair. I actually think that's fair. Yeah, it's been that great. Al Rensha back again says, Rocha, one thing to say, don't forget Bespin. Yeah, no, who can forget Bespin, right? Long time ago, brother. Brush the dust off that one. This will blow your mind. What was that, 10 years ago? That's a decade ago, man. That's how long ago that was. And certainly it's fun to see where we've all gone since those days of the Schmodown. I was actually playing one of the games the other day. I hadn't played my triple threat in a long time. Because occasionally I like to play some of the matches that I was in just to see if I remember missing a question or getting a question right, or if I can still remember the movie. There's just so much movie trivia I've just forgotten since the Schmodown days. But like, I was playing the triple threat with Ethan and Bibbs, the one I did with the three of us, which was a lot of fun. And I would have never beaten Ethan that day, even if things had gone all the way right with me. He was just so on a run there, man. So it's fun to look back on those matches and have fun. I should play other people's matches. I was thinking about adding that to the Patreon of my Patreon, is just to play other people's matches and have people, watch it for free or live as I play, and see if I can still remember any of the answers to those questions. Because, man, I haven't studied movie trivia in a long, long time. Tim Sim says, hey there, Rocha. What's up, Tim? Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Just caught up on the recent 3 episodes of Andor and losing plenty of sleep. And all I can say is, wow, these 3 episodes as its own movie could rival the original trilogy. Same thoughts, everyone, or not? Yeah, dude, I agree with you. I said this on our review on the Geek Buddies, that I think this is, if you catch me on the right day, those 3 episodes are better than Empire Strikes Back. season 1 of The Mandalorian, Revenge of the Sith, anything you could mention, Rogue One, those 3 episodes are so incredibly well written, incredibly well acted, and the emotional power that they deliver are just astounding. And as I said when I saw them, I binged the whole season in one day. For those who don't remember that tweet, I said I've seen the greatest episode of Star Wars TV ever. And for me, that was episode 8. For other people, that was episode 9. But in our review on the Geek Buddy, Shannon McClung said something really great. He was like, I think 8 and 9 are the same. They're a combined episode. You can't separate one from the other. And that's actually a really great point. 7 could be seen as kind of a separate episode, a precursor episode, but 8 and 9 together is a movie within itself that could rival any movie Star Wars has ever released. I went back and forth with somebody who was watching our review who was upset about me saying that and then admitted they had never seen Andor. It was like, well, what are you talking about? You can't even have a counterpoint if you haven't seen Andor. So, yeah, I would say, I mean, I thought Rogue One rivaled Empire for me. But then seeing these 3 episodes, I would have to put it above Rogue One and possibly above Empire Strikes Back. I mean, that's recency bias, so you have to let it simmer and marinate for a little bit, but that's how I feel right now. So no surprise, brother, that you feel that it rivals the original trilogy and that you lost plenty of sleep watching it, man. What do you all think? Send in your super chats or comments there. JMB says, did you remember to call your mama on Mother's Day? Hell yeah, it's my mama. My mamacita, of course. I called her yesterday at, I think, 11:30. But we went to go float again as a Mother's Day special, me and the Lady Outlaw. We went down near Pacific Beach in San Diego. There's awesome place there that they do the sensory deprivation float tanks. And this one was like a massive one where I could put out both my arms and legs and just kind of float for an hour in the darkness with some special effects of lights above, like some star lights above. You know, it was pretty awesome stuff there. But like before we took advantage of that, I called my mom and had a fun conversation with her for half an hour. She should be getting the card. She got the card yesterday. She'll be getting the chocolates today because I was a little late getting the Seas candies to her. But yeah, I hope you all called your mother for Mother's Day, or if any of you have lost your mom, I hope you thought of her yesterday and gave her love, you know, and it's important. Mothers are super important to our lives, man. Mistax D says, just some support for Rocha keeping the show alive. Thank you. Appreciate that, Mistax. Very kind of you. Let's stop the questions for now because we gotta get to the ad break. So let's do one more ad break and maybe take this opportunity to send in some more super chats, and we'll answer the rest of the questions when I come back after this.
You know, a lot of times, especially for my business, I got to find ways to send people cashish. You got to send them cash. And it's so frustrating, some of these programs, whether you get a big fee that they include. It's like, oh, we're going to take, we can send it, but we're going to take 80%. It's like, what? And sometimes you send the money by accident to the wrong person, and you're like, oh, no, how do I get that back? And or sometimes you just try to get the cash, and then it's like, oh, there's a processing delay, and they don't really tell you why. Well, not anymore. Because Cash App, that's the way to go. Why? Cash App is a safe, it's easy, it's a fast way to send, receive, and transfer money to family and friends. It's so easy to get started. It's like, you know, I get frustrated with stuff quick. I didn't have to call Brett for this one. I just did it. I just signed up. Money shows up right away. You don't have to wait around for days. It's your money. You don't have to wait for it. And the best part is that they also have your back. It's about sending money. And if you're going to send money and you're going to send it to a sketchy account or a scam, there's a warning that pops up. Do you feel more relaxed knowing that Cash App has your back? You should, because that's how I felt. If you don't have Cash App, I'm going to ask you this question. What the hell is wrong with you? Get it. It's so easy. You can just, next time, by the way, when you're at dinner with somebody, like, I'll get you back next time. You go, nope, we can just split it through Cash App. Don't let them get away with it. Limited time only. New Cash App users can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real, no catch. You just download Cash App and sign up. Use our exclusive referral code, Kristian, in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you're going to get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App.
There you go. That's money. That's Cash App. That's really important. All right, let's move on to some more of these questions here. Yeah, Tim is back. He says, wondering if any are going to try this when the last 3 episodes of Andor are released tomorrow night Episodes 10, 11, and 12 Andor, then Rogue One, and then Star Wars: A New Hope. It'll be interesting for sure. Oh my God, who's staying up that late? Like they drop at 6. So those 3 episodes, probably you're done by 8:30, 8:15. They're not that long, the last 3 episodes. I think they're 42, 46, 47, something like that. So you probably get through them within 2.5 hours, if my math is right. So let's say you're done by 8:30, right? Let's say you use the restroom, so you start at 8:45, right, to pee and get water or whatever. 8:45 to 10:45, Rogue One. It's a 2-hour movie. Then maybe you pee again, get some more water. Then 10:40. So you'd have to stay up till probably 1 a.m. if you're going to do that. All 3 episodes, Rogue One and A New Hope. It's a challenge. I can't do it because I got a screening tomorrow night of another film, but it could be interesting to try doing it that way. I like that idea myself personally, Tim. Thank you. Carlton Rudder, what's up? Carlton, London calling. Andor episodes 7, 8, 9 were incredible. Could you imagine a Gilroy-led KOTOR series? Oh, yeah. Star Wars needs as much prestige as it does pew pew. I don't disagree with you, buddy man. I don't disagree with you, brother man. So, yeah, I mean, this is a fascinating thing because his approach to it would be incredible. But Tony said he's done with Star Wars. Maybe that's a negotiating tactic, but he has said that he's done with Star Wars. So we will see if that actually changes, but I would love to see him come back and do more in the world of Star Wars. I would love to. Imagine if he had done the Boba Fett series. I mean, imagine if he had done the Boba Fett series. I don't think we get Tamora Morrison back, but I think it would have been interesting to see the Boba Fett series. Reggie Brown says, Dan Merle has said Sinners is already in the... Well, if Dan Merle has said it, let's all just sit back and... No, I'm just joking. Yeah, I'm sure he has it. I'm sure it is. But you want to make more than just, hey, I got across the finish line. You want to get across the finish line with like wheelbarrows of money. And that's what I'm talking about. Profit, So we will see. Shelf Present says the Vong made for a horror one-offer series. The Vong, okay, yeah, I could see that, Shelf. Yeah, that could be a possibility for sure. Mike Joy says, did you see the report that the second Death Star was a gift to the Emperor from the Hutts? No, I did not see that. Is that a joke? I didn't see that. Let's see. Let's take a look at that. Death Star, Hutts. Are you sure Mike Joyce sometimes sends me down the wrong wormholes. I don't know. I don't see anything. I don't know. Somebody can maybe clue me into this because I have not seen anything here. I don't see anything in the news. No, I don't see anything. So I don't know where you saw the report, buddy. Let me know where the report is at. I'll take a look. Go Pal. What's up, Go Pal? He said, I originally found Marseille as Anne Neville on the White Queen on Stars with Rebecca Ferguson. Wow, those two going at it. I can't imagine seeing a scene between those two actresses. Wow. Not a ton of people remember that show, but I liked it. Yeah, I remember the White Queen I think it got 2 or 3 seasons on Stars, right? Because they did a few of those. So a few of those type of series there. So that's good to know. Well, maybe I'll check it out. Corn Emperor. I don't know when Ironheart drops, but heard it'll bomb. Weird. Yeah, there's been no trailer. There have been more Superman trailers, which is coming out after Ironheart, than there has been one trailer of Ironheart. I don't know why they think this is a smart marketing decision. I just don't understand it, honestly. If you believe in a show, you start hyping it up 6 months ahead of time. There's been no special events or press junkets or, things where they're all showing up to do something, showing up on, I don't know, just events, I guess, basically is what I'm trying to say, like bringing up the hype, showing up at sporting events. Like there's none of that. So it's just curious. If they think, I don't even know why you release it if you think it's going to be a bomb. Are they going to release all of them on the same day? I wonder if they'll do that, like pull the Echo situation just to get it out there, get past the negative responses and move on to Fantastic Four. I don't know. Maybe they're waiting for Thunderbolts to start to run out of steam and then they'll do some promotion. I don't know. Or maybe sometime this week we'll get something. Now that they've seen that their switch to New Avengers really didn't affect the box office that much, I think maybe it's time to just kind of drop a trailer this week. We'll see. Corn Emperor also says, I hope Superman and Fantastic Four are great and do amazing box office. I don't disagree. I hope they're both great as well. I want, was it a rising tide lifts all boats? So I want all these superhero movies to do well. I want them to be exceptional films. So we'll see. Miss Dax says, member for 2 months. Congrats on the weight loss. Keep at it. Very impressive for 6 weeks. Yes. This program works really well. The meal plan works really well. It's not without its temptations. It's not without its tough moments. And you have to be really committed to adjusting on the fly. Like last night, we went to Wood Ranch for dinner after we did our float. I took her out for Mother's Day to dinner. I had to order. I couldn't get the mac and cheese like I usually get. I couldn't get the bread rolls like I usually get. I stuck to broccoli and asparagus with some blackened chicken breasts and some tri-tip. I think tri-tip, yeah. So it was pretty cool, but it was a damn good filling meal. My biggest fear moving away from the carbs was that I wasn't sure vegetables would really fill me up, but broccoli and cauliflower and asparagus have done so. Other vegetables I'm not really keen on, so I don't really try that stuff because I've tried them before, didn't like them, but that stuff works for me. So, teach their own. But thank you, Ms. Stacks. I appreciate it. Soul Styles Jukebox says, love the recent Geek Buddies chat about Andor. Yes, thank you. Yeah, we had a really good in-depth discussion on Andor with me, Mike, and Shannon. That was it dropped yesterday. It was an hour and a half show. We covered Marvel, DC stuff for I think the first 50 minutes, and then they spent the next 50 minutes talking those 3 episodes of Andor. So if you haven't tried out Geek Buddies, I can't recommend it enough. Michael Vogel is a showrunner, has run animated series. He's been executive producer, a lyricist. He's sat in board meetings at these studios talking about all these projects. And Shannon, the other Geek Buddy, we've been friends for all 3 of us have been friends for well over 25 years. Shannon is an actor, a writer who's had many things done, produced and made that he's written. And so we give you a more in-depth exploration of what's going on with things that are happening in the industry because of all our friends and our contacts that all work in multiple studios and multiple places in the industry. So I just highly recommend. I don't work with people who don't have these kind of contacts, have these kind of connections. So, I trust their analysis, from Jeff Snyder to Michael to Shannon to Winston A. To Wendy Lee. I mean, these are people that I've really looked to work with who have connections within the industry, within these studios, so they can give a really good analysis of what's going on. So yeah, try out the Geek Buddies on the Outlaw Nation channel, trust me. Or you can subscribe to the podcast if you don't want to see my face. It's a really fun time. So I was just, why have both Fantastic Four trailers underwhelmed? I disagree. I've enjoyed both of them. I'm sorry you feel underwhelmed by them. I know there are some people who feel underwhelmed as well. So I'm not saying you're alone in any way, shape, or form, but I've liked the trailers. They've given me a smile on my face every time by the end, getting me excited to see these 4 together. But it certainly seems very clear that it's going to be Vanessa Kirby who is the focus of that movie. So I hope people are going in with that understanding. And of course, the anti-woke channels are going to go crazy about it. Oh no, another female boss. It's going to be all that nonsense for a few weeks, but it is what it is. As long as it's a good movie, that nonsense usually dies out. So Silas at Jukebox says, new Mission Impossible is 2 hours and 50 minutes. Yeah, I'm strapping in for tonight. This is going to be a 3-hour movie. I probably won't put up a out-of-theater reaction till like 10:30 or 11, for God's sakes, but I'm still looking forward to it. They had a screening of it last week in LA, but it broke down halfway through over at the IMAX headquarters. Scott Mantz tweeted about it on his social media. So I don't know if they got a chance to see it again or if they're the ones going to be showing up at the screening tonight. We will see. Soul Stylist also says final Andor episodes and a Superman trailer. Yeah, that's going to be a good week. That's right. Tomorrow night, the final three episodes of Andor. God, I can't believe it's already over. And then Superman trailer on Wednesday. Yeah, we're going to be eating good this week. Had F1 trailer today. Andrew Kavolka says, hey, John, what do you think of the theory of the Avengers teaming up with Doom against the X-Men in Doomsday? I think it'll be interesting. I mean, we don't know. I mean, that's a very distinct possibility, right? Because Doom could know how they view Tony Stark in this universe. And because he looks like Tony Stark, he could trick the Avengers that he is a good guy, that he is on their side, and manipulate the narrative of these new invaders, the X-Men coming into this universe, the idea of mutants coming into this universe. And we've just had, secret invasion with the Skrulls and shape-shifting. So the fact that mutants have possibly been here the whole time and have never revealed themselves, we know the Avengers went through a civil war dealing with the idea of how to protect the planet from outside threats. So the idea of an inside threat, an internal threat being something that they didn't know about could spark them coming together against the X-Men, Doom manipulating them. Very, very possible. And people do love to see Avengers versus X-Men, right? Because it doesn't seem like you're going to have a lot of villains beyond Doom and maybe Galactus in Secret Wars. Maybe there's a Kang if they do a recasting. But so who are the heroes going to fight? And people are going to want to see action sequences. So turning them against each other, just so you could have some interesting Avengers vs. X-Men stuff, which people love from the comics, is very possible. I would not be surprised if that's what happens. Soul Stylist Jukebox says, I'm going to miss Dedra Miro. Yeah, we'll see what happens to her tomorrow night. What's her reaction to everything that happened on Gorman? And what happened to Cyril? What's her reaction going to be? Very curious. I mean, I've seen it already, so I know. But curious to hear what you guys are going to think when you see what happens to Dedra. Derek Johnson. Oh, thank you, Derek. Says, can't stay alone, but throwing support. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Derek. And thank you, Derek. You are the best, my man. Sean McCabe says, hey, Rocha, sending love. Great job holding it down. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. I do the best I can. I know I'm not Kristian Harloff, so we don't always attract the same numbers that Kristian Harloff does when we're hosting together. But, I do my best. I hope you all are enjoying it. I do respect and enjoy Kristian's audience. Derek Johnson says, I think all Transformers fans are just done with Earth and humans. Give me the first 15 minutes of Bumblebee as a whole movie, then you can have all my money. Derek, I don't disagree with you. Setting everything on the planet there would be awesome to see. We had samples of it even in Transformers 1, getting to see what goes on there on Cybertron. A whole movie, a live action Transformers film set on Cybertron would be awesome. You don't need humans. I think you can make it work. If the studio executives would let go of this idea of needing humans and take a chance on a film, maybe $125 million, do a modestly budgeted big franchise Transformers film, I think that could be awesome. All set on Cybertron as a prequel could be really interesting. I'd be down with you, what you're saying, Derek. And thanks again for the support, brother, man. Al Renshaw back says, Bait definitely ruined IP. The movies were visual noise with no story and terrible dialogue. By 5, people were over Bayverse and the franchise was dead. Yes, but it still made $4.5 billion. I mean, if there's got to be, it isn't because people are like, oh, I don't want to see another Transformers. If Michael Bay is not involved in it, then the thing they didn't want to see again, they weren't going to see again. So why wouldn't they go? I don't think the logic holds up. I don't think he ruined the IP at all, or else we wouldn't have gotten all these other films that did make, although they didn't, make $1 billion, they still made hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars. So there is an interest there. You just got to find the right combo, So thank you, Derek. Appreciate the support, brother, man. You're the best. Matt says, tell us about Marvel Studios box behind you. Oh, this is something that Michael got me for Christmas a year ago, the story of Marvel Studios. It's a pretty awesome book. It has all the history of Marvel Studios with great pictures. I can't pull it. It's a massive book. I'll have to take down all the Funkos to do it, but it's a massive book and it's a great read. It's a nice companion piece with that other MCU book that came out that broke down what was really going on behind the scenes and all that. So yeah, it's a good 1-2 punch. Thank you, Derek, for more support. Appreciate it, brother. You're the best. Corn Emperor says, I get that people still don't like the prequels, but why so much vocal hate when the sequels are right there? They broke Star Wars. Well, as someone who does not like the prequels, and I don't, and people get mad at me. I don't really care. I'm allowed to my opinion. Just like you're allowed to have your opinion, you love them. I do not like the prequels. They are a chore to watch. I tried to watch them all again like 3 years ago. I couldn't even get through Phantom Menace. It was just so bad. I have not gone to go see it in the theaters with Revenge of the Sith. And there are a lot of us who actually feel this way about the prequel trilogy. And I know the young kids who grew up on the prequel trilogy have grown up and they're very staunch in their defense of it. And I see a lot of my compatriots who agreed with me about the prequels softening their stances over the years, maybe to try to cater to that audience. Everyone's got a right to do what they like. But I'm very clear about the prequels. I think the reason people go after the prequels is because that's George Lucas's films, and I think that's the guy who made them. He is the guy who made the original trilogy. So there's more, you can direct more anger at that because he is the source material guy. So I think maybe they feel more of a entitlement to go after. I'm not excusing it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I think that might be the reason why, because you're asking why. But I think the thing that broke Star Wars, you're leading to Return of the Jedi. If you think just The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker broke Star Wars, and there wasn't already this undercurrent of dissatisfaction since the prequels, hell, I would go all the way back to Return of the Jedi. That's where you started to see the big dissatisfaction as a bubbling voice in Star Wars fandom with the Ewoks. That is the original thing that split the fandom. You know, people want to forget that, but it's the truth. I was there. I lived through it. I remember the Ewoks being a massive issue, and especially later when it was revealed, because it wasn't really common knowledge till later when we could get these information out there that it was supposed to be Wookiees, and that added even more fuel to the fire, because people who didn't like Return of the Jedi and thought it went too kiddie would have lost their minds thinking about a planet of Wookiees battling the Empire. That is exciting. And I'm one of those people. I would have loved to have seen it. I like Return of the Jedi just fine. I don't like the Ewok stuff. Never will like the Ewok stuff. And again, that's just my opinion. I'm not judging anyone who does like the Ewok stuff. You have a right to enjoy it. But I think that's where the original beginning of like division within the fandom began. I don't even know if maybe the Darth Vader being his dad thing was an issue for people. I don't remember that being an issue, but I wouldn't be surprised if some people were like, oh, that's a terrible reveal. I don't like that reveal. That sucks. Whatever. But I remember the Ewoks and the Wookiees was a big deal. Then you carry that over into the prequel trilogy, which were a lot of people who were adults didn't like those movies. A lot of critics go back and read those reviews. They were pretty scathing in how they destroyed the prequel. So there were issues there. And then you move on to the sequel trilogy, and you're excited for Force Awakens, but then Last Jedi was an issue, and then the Rise of Skywalker. So this has been building. Nothing happens overnight, and I don't think you can assign blame to anything. I think it might have been the straw that broke the camel's back, but the camel was already bending from the weight of all the anger since the Return of the Jedi. That's what I think. But thank you, Corn, for your thoughts, man. Appreciate them. Derek Johnson, thank you again, brother, man. You're the best. Andrew Kravulka says, Pirates of the Caribbean has been one of my favorite movie franchises since I was a kid. Do you think there's another chance? Do you think there's a chance another one gets made with Johnny Depp? I think there's a chance another one gets made with Johnny Depp. Do I think it will happen? No. But I do think there's a chance because studios are insane. Executives are super weird, and they will talk themselves into anything. And I know we've seen in a post-Trump election world that all of these people who were quote-unquote canceled are now getting platforms, are now getting a chance to speak out, and that people are defending them in larger numbers than before and all of that. So I would not be surprised to see people wanting to this groundswell of support for Johnny Depp coming back to be a part of the Pirates of the Caribbean. Look, I have made it very clear on the Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation. Those were two people that should never have been together. And I think any rational adult who has had any kind of experience in therapy or couples therapy will tell you that those two should have never been together. It was a toxic situation from the beginning. And none of us were in those fights. None of us were there all day, every day with those people. And what happened between them happened between them. It was a terrible situation. Right. But Amber claims she's happy in Spain. She just had twins a few days ago. Johnny is trying to work his way back into the world of Hollywood. So I would not be surprised, because one of those verdicts was not guilty. The other verdict was guilty, the one in the UK. I would not be surprised if there is this desire for Johnny to come back. I just think the franchise is too long in the tooth. They've been living off that first film for so long. And none of the subsequent films have been anywhere close to good as the first film, right? There have been some fun installments, right? What's the one with Javier Bardem on Stranger Tides? I think is what it's called. I thought that was good, But that last one with bringing back Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley, that at the end there, that it wasn't great. And so I just think that I think that's been living on fumes. And if you add the Johnny Depp situation to it, I think it'll sink it even more, to use a proper connection there. So I don't know why you don't just recast, tell a completely different story if you're going to start over again. There are plenty of actors who can do what Johnny did with their version of Jack Sparrow. Look, nobody thought Will Smith would get close to Robin Williams for his genie, but he did a damn good job in that Aladdin live action remake. So there are plenty of good actors who could come in and play that role and find the new way into playing Jack Sparrow that are out there that could be a lot of fun. So we'll see. Tim Sims' hot take. Apparently, I think those 3 episodes are as great as the original trilogy. Mando season 1, season 2, Rogue One, and even Ahsoka, and gasp, The Last Jedi. Hashtag come at me, bro. Is that a hot take? I feel like that's I think a lot of people have been saying that those last 3 episodes are as good as anything Star Wars has ever done. I'd be surprised to people trying to tell you who've actually seen it. I'd be surprised at people trying to tell you that they don't think it rivals that. That's kind of insane. I will happily go toe to toe with anyone on that, because there's a lot of holes in Empire Strikes Back. Derek Johnson. Thank you, Derek. Much love to you, brother, man. Derek also says, if y'all ever come to Colorado, make sure you hit up Iron Mountain Hot Springs in Glenwood. Superb place for relaxation. My annual place to go to every year. Detox for the mind and body. Ooh. You know what? I'm going to write that down, man. I'll put that in the notes app here, Derek. We're always looking to travel to certain areas around the country. Not always outside the country. Especially now, recently, I don't want to leave the country at all. Iron Mountain Flat Springs. All right, Derek, you got, we're going to check it out. See if maybe we take a trip up to Colorado. I was in Denver once years ago for shooting a commercial. I had a great time in Denver. So would love to see other places of Colorado, other areas of Colorado. Gopal says, Stars did a lot of shows based on books from the same author as The White Queen, but I think each was a single season, a different time in history. Ah, yes. Okay, so that's what they did. I knew I'd seen different versions of that stuff. So yeah, respect. Thank you, Gopal. Thank you, Derek, again. Derek says, sending my last one before I bounce. Always a good show, Rucker. Thank you, Derek. Enjoy the rest of your day, buddy. Much love to you. Thanks for coming by and hanging out and dropping some super chats. We're at 61 right now. 61. Would love to get to 100. We've got 15 minutes left. Would love to get to 100. 39 more to go. Come on, y'all. Gannon says, Ilsa Faust dead, or will she be alive in MA? I think she's gone. Rebecca has made it very clear that she wanted to move on from the Mission Impossible franchise. So, you know, I would be very surprised to see her tonight in the movie. And I mean, you don't replace her with Haley Atwell if you're not going to go all the way with Haley Atwell, and it seems like they did. So, yeah, I mean, would I be surprised? I guess not, because a lot of people really love her and want her back. And maybe Paramount's like, well, we could do a series with her on Paramount Plus, right? A Rebecca Ferguson Mission Impossible series on Paramount Plus could be a lot of fun. And certainly they're not shy about shelling out for A-list actors and theatrical actors. Tom Hardy right now in Mobland, which if you aren't watching Mobland, you're missing out on an awesome series. You know, Tom Hardy's on that. You've got Billy Bob Thornton on Landman. You've got Demi Moore on Landman. You just had John Hamm on Landman. So there are plenty of A-list actors who come in and do stuff. Nicole Kidman, Zoe Saldana in Lioness. So yeah, Costner. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff there on Paramount Plus where A-list actors are coming in to do series. I mean, which is a Fassbender in the Agency. You know, that was a pretty awesome series. I enjoyed the series. So I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe find a way to keep her alive. So maybe, but I just don't think it's possible. Gopal says, I didn't really keep up after they recast Elizabeth of York for The White Princess. Oh, okay, Gopal. Thank you for letting us know that. The new actress was Jodie Comer. Yeah. But I was salty because Freya Mayer from Skins played her in White Queen, and I'm huge. Yes, you are, Gopal. You bring up Skins all the time. I know you're a big fan of Skins. That's a good series, man. So I hear you. I understand being upset, but you might also realize that Freya didn't want to do it anymore. She wanted to do something else. You know, actors have that. And people always like, well, the studio kicked them out. It's not always the case. A lot of times it's because actors want to move on. They don't like the grind of the schedule. They don't like the commitment. They don't like the creative challenge. You know, there's a lot of reasons why actors move on from series. It's not always because studios kick them out or recast them, you know. Reggie Brown says, Cap blocking Cyclops optic blast with vibranium wings is a wet dream. All right, there you go. That could be interesting to see for sure, man. Corn Emperor says, agreed, Star Wars is young adult, not for kids. Is YA not for kids? Return of the Jedi was the first. Right. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, because remember, in the first Star Wars movie, you had some pretty tough moments, some rough moments. Same thing in Empire Strikes Back. Cutting your son's hand off and then saying that you're revealing that the main villain of the series is the dad of the main protagonist of the series. That's a pretty, I mean, if you watch the reactions of kids when they're watching that reveal on YouTube, like the kids are in tears, like sobbing at that reveal, just as we probably were when we saw it when it was in the theaters. So, yeah. That's what George realized. You could make a lot of money selling toys. That's for sure. Carlton Rudder says, just tune in live, sending love and support, John. Thank you, dude. Love the Andor Geek Buddies review and Ant-Man Part 1 on the Cinephiles with Steve. Quality content. Yes, I agree. Thank you, man. Doing good work out there, people. I would love for you all to enjoy the stuff we're doing on the Geek Buddies on the Outlaw Nation and the Cinephiles. The Cinephiles, we average about 200,000 downloads a month for the show we do there on every week on the Cinephiles. We've been doing the show 9 years. It's a podcast that I do with my director friend, Steve Morris. We just dropped part 1 of Ant-Man that is out for people to listen to. We usually go beat by beat through the movie. So if you're a person who really, really loves movies, that's why it's called the Cinephiles. We literally go beat by beat through every scene of the movie. Now, do we sometimes consolidate action sequences? Yes, because we try to talk about it as a whole. But we go through the lines, we go through the dialogues, we bring in snippets from the film, and then we talk about what they mean. We analyze what's going on. We look at what the director's intention was. We talk about the usage of film technology and what lenses are being used to create this kind of. So it's not only just conversations about a movie, it's also like a mini film school. So if you haven't tried out the Cinephiles, I highly, highly recommend you all do that. It's on wherever you download podcasts. And we've been doing it for 9 years. So there's a crap ton of films you can choose from. I would recommend anything from the last 4 to 5 years. That's when we really hit our stride. And you can enjoy it. And yes, we break it down over multiple parts. We just did Fargo. I think Fargo went 3 parts. Ant-Man we're going to try to make it 2 parts, but I think it's going to go 3 parts. And we just go through everything in the film and bring a little history into it, a little behind the scenes information and stuff with the actors. So it's a really good show. So highly recommend that for you all if you haven't tried it out yet, wherever you download podcasts. So, all right, let's see. Our last super chat for now is from Hasro24. Bella Ramsey is getting a ton of crap for Last of Us, but she was fantastic in Game of Thrones, and Game of Thrones season 7 and 8 hate is not justified. Well, I mean, one of my more emotional reactions to an episode was the last episode of season 8. I think the review might be, I don't know though. Collider has taken down all my stuff now because clearly they only want to focus on the people who are currently there doing stuff. A lot of the Schmodown stuff has gone from there as well. So it's a shame that Collider's doing this without letting us know that they were doing it. Very clandestine. But a lot of my reviews that I did on there, a lot of my interviews, a lot of my other stuff is gone. But if you can find my review of the final season of Game of Thrones, I think we called it Thrones Talk back then or something like that, with me and Dennis and I think Ashley Robinson back when she was doing stuff like that. I went insane for the first few minutes of the show because I had held on through season 8 that they were going to lead to this really insane moment and do all this stuff. I just kept believing when everyone was like, oh, Rocha, you don't get it. And then when we got to the end and I saw what they did, I was just so mad, man. I was so mad because it was such a letdown from what they had created in the first 6.5 seasons of Game of Thrones. So, so I do think the hate is justified, or at least the criticism. I don't want to say hate. The criticism is justified because there are some really damn good scenes through 7 and 8. There are some damn good moments in 7 and 8 as well, in season 7 and 8. But I do think the criticism is justified. Maybe not the hate, but certainly criticism. And yeah, I feel bad for Bella, man. Bella's such a damn good actress. It's a shame that they're going after them. And the fact, I mean, they came out and said, like, I don't care about gendered categories. It should be best actress, best actor. She delivers. They deliver damn good performances every episode. This last episode, they were fantastic. And so, I mean, they're becoming slowly Joel. the character of Ellie. So she Ellie is becoming Joel, because I don't think they've said how they identify in the show. So I mean, it's great to see that. So I think it's unfair. Isabella Merced, though, is delivering great work, and no one's talking about her. And maybe because Bella's the lead, so they have to go after them. But Isabella is delivering great work as well. So if you're not watching the show, you're missing out on some a damn good performance from Isabella, who I think is slowly becoming one of these actresses that everyone needs to watch, like Florence Pugh, Sydney Sweeney, Isabella Merced, Kristen Milioti. There's a whole new crop of actors and of actresses who are coming in to the frame here, Bella, who are coming in here, who are just absolutely fantastic, and getting a chance to show their greatness. So, keep an eye on Isabella, because she's about to be in Superman as well. And I think she's going to be excellent in that. So there you go. All right. That's the show. Let's get Margaret Qualley. Certainly a lot of people like Margaret Qualley for sure. All right. So there you go. That's it. That's everything. Thank you all so much. Appreciate you hanging out. Thanks for getting me to 62. Was hoping to get to 100, but we got to 62. So a good way to start out the week. And I appreciate you all hanging on, even after you realized that Kristian wasn't going to be on the show. We had well over 400 of people of you hanging out here for almost the entire show. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. As I mentioned earlier, please follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads, and also all my content on the Outlaw Nation channel. Kristian and I have been working together. We're trying to get my channel to 100,000 subscribers. So I know you all love what Kristian does here. Come and take a chance on all the stuff I do there on my channel as well. I guarantee you'll enjoy it. It isn't me just being the overriding voice. All these incredibly wonderful intellectual people who are part of my channel, fun people who are part of my channel, who are geeks, nerds, and are into all the stuff we do there and break it all down. Plus you get scoops like the hot mic. You get information. I think you get analysis that you don't get anywhere else from people who are actually working in the business, who are there every week to give you their thoughts about what's going down. So more in-depth, on boots on the ground type of analysis, rather than just, I think this is happening. More about it in my experience. This is what I believe is happening, because this is what has happened to me in my experience, or what I've seen happen at studios when these certain press releases or certain excuses are given. So you're getting a much more in-depth approach, man. And that's what I appreciate about the Outlaw Nation, what we do there. So, all right, you guys are awesome. Thanks so much. Much love to you. Tyler, one last one here. Tyler says, I like Ramsey, just miscast. It happens. I don't think she's miscast, though. But then again, I haven't read the books. I haven't played the games, so I don't know if she's miscast. But for me, I think she's doing an incredible job. So, all right. Thank you all. Be well. Take care of yourselves. Don't forget to subscribe to the Kristian Harloff channel. That's the channel you're on right now. They got all kinds of things, reactions. The show is coming up this week live with Steph and Mike. I don't know if Vince is going to be on this week. Vince is on vacation, so probably just Coy this weekend or this Friday. And of course, Roxy as well. So everybody involved here and all the stuff they're doing, reviews and reactions and what have you here on the Kristian Harloff channel. And apparently y'all might have yourselves a new studio tomorrow on the Kristian Harloff channel. So that's going to be a lot of fun for you all to enjoy. All right. Take care of yourselves. Be well. We'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of the Kristian Harloff Show. Enjoy your week and have a great Monday. Peace, everybody.
I was